I always get into my work, so rock out with me as we point the way to the best highlights. So let's get funky as we bring you the goals, the moves, and all of the action. Sports Night is next.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sports Night. I'm Joe Young.
And I'm Howie Shapiro. We had a week off.
We did, and hopefully everyone had a happy and safe New Year.
Yes.
It is 2018. Update the calendars.
Yikes. 2018 already. Well, we definitely hope everyone had a safe and happy New Year.
We've got quite a bit to talk about. Of course, a lot of teams had a little bit easier schedule, a little bit more time off throughout the holidays. At least one team has been off the entire 2 weeks that we've been gone, so you didn't miss anything
Nope.
gymnastics-wise, but they get back to action this week. We will get you up to date on everything else that has happened. We'll start with the boys hockey team. Right after Christmas, they headed to River Falls, Wisconsin for a pair across the border, and it was a good place for them to go. A couple of teams the Cardinals were able to gain some momentum against. They beat Somerset 6-2. Michael Crosby getting the hat trick plus an assist. Duncan McKenna had 3 assists. Kirby Pieri had 2 goals, and Tommy Carls also scored for the Cardinals. Then they beat the host team from River Falls, Nick Lackinen, getting a pair of goals. Matt Ammon also scored.
There you go.
Along with Duncan McKenna had an assist, and Argeros made 22 saves in the win.
Always nice going to the tournament, getting a couple of wins, especially a team that's been struggling a little bit, looking for some continuity, and they were able to get a couple wins there.
They had 6 straight losses going over there, so good to get a couple of wins. And they came home hoping to carry some of that momentum back with them when they returned to conference play on Thursday. Armstrong Cooper, one of the top teams in their division, but the Cardinals know on this side of the Northwest Suburban Conference, anybody can beat anyone else on any given night. They were hoping to prove that on Thursday. It's the Wings that take first flight. Big hit creates a turnover at center ice, and Armstrong Cooper has the numbers into the zone. Ben Anderson finishes out front, starts the scoring for the home team. First period belongs to the Wings. They outshoot the Cardinals 18-9. They're able to add to their lead. Noah Wiesjohn puts a wrist shot top shelf to give the Wings a 2-goal advantage. They weren't quite done off the faceoff. Puck tipped back to the point. Jack Steinke able to get the shot through traffic behind Protas. Make it a 3-0 Armstrong lead after the first. Cardinals down but not out. Michael Crosby on the rush. Short-handed early in the second. Little toe drag. Then beats the keeper far side to get Coon Rapids on the board. That gives them some confidence and some momentum on a power play now. Kirby Pieri carries behind the net. Hands off to Tommy Carls, and there's just no chance for the keeper on the wraparound. Coon Rapids back within a goal. Unfortunately, the Wings scored twice late in the second, so it was 5-2. The Cards light the lamp again, and the third power play pays off. Crosby nets his second of the night. It's just not enough. Armstrong Cooper escapes to the 7-3 win. Cardinals outshot in that one 55-27.
Yeah, it's tough to give up 7 goals and to be outshot like that. You know, they had some opportunities, just couldn't get there at the end, and losing 55 shots. That's a lot.
Danny Protas very busy, the junior goalkeeper in that
he
one.
was.
Made 48 saves. But that's a lot of pucks.
Yeah, you don't want to be giving up 7 goals each and every night, but
no. Well, and then on Saturday, the Cardinals face a tough team from the other side of the conference, Champlain Park Rebels, and the Rebels also put up a 7 spot against the Cardinals. Unfortunately, the Cardinals not able to even put up the 3 they got against Armstrong Cooper. They get just 1. Tommy Carls getting the lone goal. Kirby Pieri on the assist. That was I believe, a power play goal for them. Argeros got the start in that one. Not outshot as badly, but outscored significantly. So Cardinals, they just such a tough conference. And you look at those schedules, and Armstrong Cooper is off to a strong start there, having a good year. But you look back a couple of games ago when they saw the Spring Lake Parks and the Irondales. Those are the teams you have to be able to compete with. And Spring Lake Park, Armstrong Cooper, I think you could throw into the mix as well. Irondale is leading that side of that division of the Northwest Suburban. So really, anybody on that side could come out of it. But Cardinals now into the second half of the schedule would need a lot of help to get back up into that running, but really just want to find some positive momentums and be able to compete with those teams in their division throughout the rest of the season.
Well, just 12 shots on goal in that game, and you have to do a better job of getting shots on net because, as you know, the more opportunities you get, the better opportunities you are going to get to score. So 12 shots on goal in that game, not enough.
Well, the Cardinals at home on Tuesday, they host Highland Park, a team that hopefully they can be competitive with and maybe get a victory. And then they go to Osseo on Thursday, and Osseo is another one of those teams that the Cardinals look at in the conference and know that they should be able to compete with and see if they can come away with a win.
Well, the girls hockey team returned from holiday break looking to get back in their winning ways when they hosted the Cardinal Cup. The format has changed for this year's tournament when one team unexpectedly dropped out, but the Bluebirds wanted to make sure they took care of business. Up first was the Simley Spartans, a struggling squad with just 4 wins on the year, and the Bluebirds made sure to keep them down. They dominated the first period, but there was no score until Hannah Lisney goes end-to-end early in the second, puts the wrist shot over the keeper's shoulder on the power play. When they keep applying the pressure, Alyssa Brazier can't poke this one home, but the Spartans try and clear it, puts it on the tee for Delaney Johnson. It's 2-0 Bluebirds. They just keep piling it on. Good movement. First shot is stopped, but Erica Thiessen is right there to put the rebound home. The Bluebirds with 3 goals in just over 5 minutes. And they weren't quite done in the second. Delaney Johnson getting around the defense, sliding the backhand home, her second of the game, and it's a 4-goal lead. They add one more in the third. Molly Colford centers it, heads it to the net. She's able to put the rebound in, her first of the season, gives Coon Rapids Champlain Park the 5-0 win.
Yeah, and this was another one of those games that you look at and you have to know you can dominate these teams.
Yes.
And you have to do that when you're up against a weaker competition. Something they've done very well so far this season. You know, before their holiday break, they had lost to a very good Wayzata team.
Yep.
It had broken up a 6 or 7 game win streak for them. So it's nice to come back and get a victory like that in a game that they knew they had to win.
Well, yeah, and they, as we saw, they dominated that game, and that's what they should have done.
Well, the Bluebirds in for a little tougher challenge on Friday when they took on the St. Cloud Icebreakers. St. Cloud was 10-0-1 in their previous 11 games, including a 4-1 win over Simley in the first game of the Cardinal Cup. They had a couple of top-notch players at the top of their roster, and they would challenge the Bluebirds defenders all night long. Home team gets the fastest start possible, though. Off the opening draw, puck played ahead. Erica Thiessen jumps on it, beat the keeper with a quick wrist shot to get the Bluebirds on the board just 9 seconds into the game. They peppered the net all night, added the lead late in the first. Delaney Johnson with a rocket up over the blocker gives Coon Rapids Champlain Park a 2-0 lead after the second period. Great chance for Allie Lure. She stopped, but Molly Colford sweeps the rebound home. CPCR, a little more cushion. They add one more before the end of the second. Alyssa Sweet shooting through traffic for the power play tally. That gives the Bluebirds a 4-0 lead. St. Cloud scored in the third, but the Bluebirds coast to a 4-1 win.
Yeah, and you know we saw those two teams, Simley and St. Cloud, play the night before that Simley game against Coon Rapids Champlain Park, and you know they had that first line. They did a nice job of keeping them in check.
Yeah, and again that's a team that you know, with such a strong balanced attack that the Bluebirds are able to bring 3 strong lines. They knew that they just had to keep with the game plan, and that's what they did, and St. Cloud was clearly overmatched.
Yes, absolutely. Well, the Bluebirds returned to conference play last week when they hosted second-rate Centennial at the Forum on Tuesday night. The Cougars were coming off their first loss of the year, a 2-0 defeat at the hands of top-ranked Blake. They were hungry and looking to feast on the Bluebirds. And while the Cougars were heavily favored, the CPCR squad was determined to give them all they could handle. Centennial controlled most of the action in the first period, but it's the Bluebirds that strike first. Leah Herwald forces a turnover and races to the other end on a short-handed breakaway. She goes to that backhand, gets the home squad on the board. The score stays that way until late in the period. Delaney Johnson carries behind and feeds Alyssa Brazier on the back door. The rebound bounces off Brazier's stick into the net. All of a sudden, 2-0 Bluebirds. That only lasts 11 seconds. Gabby Hughes gets control, skates into the zone, fires one past Shuck to get the Centennial Cougars on the board and cut the lead to 2-1. Cougars stick to the game plan, and it pays off on the power play early in the second. Hannah Backman with a great shot high, and the short side evens the score, too. They take the lead the first time late in the second. Puck swept back to Allison Pitlick, skating to the slot. She puts it over the glove of Shuck, make it 3-2 Centennial. They scored 5 unanswered before the Bluebirds get back on the board again. Delaney Johnson's shot is stopped, but Mackenzie Baker's strong side on her stick, able to get the rebound home to make it 5-3. Unfortunately, that's as close as it will get. Centennial gets a late empty net goal to seal the deal, handing CPCR a 6-3 loss. And that Centennial team, Joe, they're pretty good.
Yeah, they're very good, and I thought they competed well against, or the Bluebirds did compete well against them. Heavily outshot in this one. Bailey Shuck had an outstanding game. That easily could have been a much more lopsided contest, but she gave them a chance. Made some big saves, especially in that first period, to let her team get that lead. And great job by Leah Heerwold, just forcing it, and then beating Linzer to the other end. Linzer and Hughes are no joke. Those two can play.
Are very
and Bailey Shuck shut Linzer down.
And she was frustrated.
Oh, she was.
She was frustrated.
Linzer had a couple of breakaways that she was denied on, a couple of other chances that Shuck came up with big saves. She was very frustrated. But I thought they saw exactly what they wanted to see. They would have loved to have beaten Centennial, but to go out there and compete with them and really force them to be a little concerned well into the second period, it says a lot about the program that they have at Champlain Park, Coon Rapids.
Well, yeah, Cougars caught off guard, down quickly, relatively quickly anyway, 2-0, and they had to regroup and play their game. But you're right. I think that they took some positives out of a loss, and that's a good thing.
Unfortunately, the Cardinals, or the Bluebirds rather, could not find any offense on Friday's game against against Rogers. They lost 1-0 to a Royals team that, on paper, you look at as a team that CPCR should be able to beat. Not a bad team, but a comparable team. They were outshot, were the Bluebirds in this one, 27-15. But the Bluebirds couldn't find the back of the net. They get shut out and lose 1-0. And now they have Totino Grace actually tonight on Monday night. They're over in Brooklyn Park taking on the Eagles. They host Northfield on Tuesday. Wrestling squad, big event up in Fargo over the weekend before the New Year holiday. The Rumble on the Red, one of the biggest tournaments in the country for wrestling. Teams from all over the nation travel to Fargo for the Rumble on the Red. Cardinals do a pretty good job finishing 19th place. Would have liked to have seen a few more guys earn places in this one. The only two that do. Moses Madimba at 145 finished as the runner-up. He was 5-0 with a couple of pins going into the championship match, but came up short in that. Alex Kowalchuk finished in 8th place with 3-3 record. A couple of other guys all getting at least 500 records out of the event. Nick Berg, 2-2 with a couple of pins. John Spolbany, also 2-2, had a pin. Jones was 2-2 with a major decision. Rotzine and Robin also finishing 2-2 in their respective weight classes. Well, their showing at the Rumble was encouraging, but the Cardinals eager to have success in dual meets, especially against conference opponents. They knew they would be heavily favored when they went to Champlain Park on Thursday. They also knew it would be important to dominate the overmatched Rebels, and that's exactly what they did. Cardinals really don't let the Rebels have any kind of breathing room in this one, controlling start to finish. John Spolbany with a strong crossface to put Champlain's net. Nathaniel Betzler to his back. Spolbany gets the pin midway through the second period. That was the first of 7 Cardinal pins. Gabe Degris picks up Johnny Soto in the first period at 126, goes right to the mat, gets chest to chest for the pin late in the opening period. Moses Madimba facing Champlain's Darius Cook at 152, gets a single leg takedown, and I just love how he rolls right up to go chest to chest. Able to get him turned back over, get the pin also in the first period. This was the start of a huge weekend for Isaiah Thompson. He wraps his man up in the cradle, puts this one to bed early at 160, gets the pin in just 1 minute, 6 seconds. Move up to the big boys. Nick Berg gets cradle secured, rocks back to get himself a pin as well. He ends the 195-pound match with 30 seconds left in the first period. Show you just one more. Lucas Partlow using the half Nelson to roll his man over at 220. He gets pinned late in the second period. A dominant showing for the Cardinals. They win 13 of 14 matches on their way to a 69-3 victory.
First and foremost, do you like the new unis? It's a two-piece uniform, and it's the first time that they've worn them was against Champlain Park, the shorts and the shirt. And at first, I don't think the wrestlers liked them, but I think with a 69-3 win, they enjoyed them afterwards. It was dominant. They had 7 pins, and I believe 4 of them were in the first period. So they knew going in it was going to be, I don't ever want to say an easy victory, but they knew that they had the horses to
No, I think it's
to
fair.
win.
With
Yeah,
that
to win,
matchup,
to win
it
strong.
has to be. It's the same thing we were talking about with the girls hockey team.
Yep.
There are certain opponents you look at and you say, have to dominate
Yep,
this.
and they did.
This team should not be a match for us, and we can't allow them to hang around, and they certainly didn't.
Yeah, just the one loss. I think it was 5-3 was the final, and the loss, the 3 points for Champlain Park.
And it was very entertaining television with Howie Shapiro hosting and Bob Adams doing some color.
I want to thank Bob first and foremost.
Oh,
because,
absolutely.
I didn't have to say too much.
No, he did. He's phenomenal.
And in fact, I went and got some food and took a little break for a while, and he was still
Well,
talking.
you couldn't for very long because most of those matches only lasted about a minute and a half. So, but it was a good start to the weekend because on Friday and Saturday the Cardinals went north for the Hibbings duels, and they swept up. They beat Chisago Lakes 78-0. They beat the host from Hibbing 49-21. They beat Mound West Taka 50-16, and that was just on day 1.
Impressive.
On day 2, there's
go.
more. There we go. They beat Nashwauk Keewatin Greenway 63-18, and they beat Virginia 66-12. You really usually think those Iron Range teams are going to bring a little more power at you. They didn't. The Cardinals just too much for anybody to handle. In the championship, they got number 16 ranked Princeton, and they put the hammer down on the Tigers, beating them 50-15. Look at that. 4 guys finishing undefeated in the tournament with 6-0 records: Kovalchuk, DeGris, and Thompson, along with Nick Berg. And look at Thompson.
5 pins.
5 pins. Yikes.
That's impressive. Yeah,
that's a weekend.
Yeah, Coach Adams talked about the fact that they were going up there. They really wanted to perform well. They wanted to, to get their program, not I'm going to say back on track because they've been wrestling well, but just some dominance, and they dominated up there.
Well, and he boosted their record to 12-4 on the year, which that is, I think, getting them back on track, as you and I had talked about before the match against Champlain Park. First time in a very long time you look in the rankings in the guillotine, and the Coon Rapids is not represented at all. They hope to not have that be a trend, but get both the team and a couple of their top guys back into the rankings very soon.
That should happen.
Wrestling team at Centennial on Friday. They will host Blaine next Thursday. Gymnastics team, a nice long break for the holidays. They return to action on Thursday when they travel to take on the Osseo Orioles. They'll be at Champlain Park next Thursday.
Well, the swimming and diving team got back to work last week, facing one of the top teams in the conference. The Spring Lake Park Panthers will be contenders for a title at the end of the year. And while the Cardinals may not be there quite yet, they knew this would be a great test for them to see where they stack up against one of the best in the Northwest Suburban. Several of the Cardinals' top swimmers came from the younger ages. Tyler Schultz is just an 8th grader, but he swims like a veteran. Great race in the 200 free, holding off the Panthers swimmer to take first place in a time of 1:56.82. It was the Cardinals' only first place finish, but they had several second place finishers. 9th grader Matt Struess is all alone as he makes his way home in the 200 IM, taking second in a time of 2:18.86 as he touches the wall there. Nice finish. Junior Andrew Trung finished 3rd in the 50 free. He does one better in the 100 free. Just a great finish to out-touch the swimmer to his right, tag the wall in time of 55.69 seconds. Good win there. And then Schultz again, this time in the 100 backstroke. Another strong race, another second place finish. He's going to get to the wall, coming in at a time of 1:04.47. Nice finish for him. The Panthers cruise to the 101-79 win, but still a good showing for this young Cardinals team and something they can continue to build on as the season continues.
Well, and again, that's another program that not only do they have some big horses at the top, but they have a little bit more depth. They're a little more well-established program. But for the Cardinals, they've got so much youth. They've got a couple of horses that can obviously run with anybody. But they, those depth guys, as they come up, as they get a little bit more experience and a little more speed, maybe not this year, but the goal this year, as we talked about at the beginning with Coach Donaldson, was to hopefully not be in that last place meet in the conference tournament, but to be battling for 8th and 9th or even 6th and 7th would be great. But next year after, this could be a program that's up in that mix. Maybe not. Who knows? In that 1-2 battle, maybe in that 3-4 battle. But it's baby steps at this point. And he also talked in this week's email about he thought they did very well in both that and the maroon and gold invite, which we're going to talk about in a second. But he's more concerned at this point in the season with the work they're doing in the pool during practice, the things that they're doing, the technique and strength that they're building right now, so that they can have a very strong finish and push for cutting those times down in the more important meets coming up in a couple of months. On Saturday, they were over at the University of Minnesota for the maroon and gold invite, and the Cardinals finished 11th place in that. A huge improvement score-wise from what they did a year ago in this event. So that is very good news. Their best finish comes the 200 medley relay in 7th place. Tyler Schultz was 8th place in the 100 breaststroke and 9th place in the 200 IM. Jack Simmer finished 9th place in diving. Matt Struess was 9th place in the 100 brack and 13th place in the 100 fly. 15th place finish for Andrew Trong in the 100 breast. In that group, not a single senior.
Yeah, nice to have that youth.
2 freshmen, not including the relay team. 2 freshmen, an 8th grader, and a junior.
It's pretty nice. Go back to that preview, and there was so much enthusiasm at the beginning of the season. And it's really nice to see these swimmers continue to improve their time. As we talked about, they're not going to be at the top of the conference, but they're working at improving their skills each and every time they hit the pool, and they hope to continue that as the season goes on as well.
Well, and they've got another couple of very tough matches this week. They're at Elk River on Tuesday. They're at Maple Grove on Thursday. Nordic ski team. You still haven't gotten a lot of snow this year to snow on, and it's been so brutally cold for the last week, and now we skipped it right over, and now we're melting what little
back
snow we have. But they did get a skate race in last week. The Northwest Suburban Skate Race took place, I think, over at what's that place in Maple Grove, Elm Creek?
Yeah.
That's, I believe, where they were at. 3rd place finish for the boys. Ricky Petroff, just freshman, leading the way for the Cardinals. In 5th place, Mitch Zandarowski in 6th. Jared Haida in 9th place. Nick Jorgensen in 19th. Caleb Chesser in 20th. And Paul Breitbach in 22nd. And just one note, talking about young strengths. 2 of them are seniors, Zandarowski and Breitbach. Petroff and Chesser are both freshmen. Haida, a sophomore, and Jorgensen, a junior. So that an up-and-coming program as well. On the girls' side, they finished in 2nd place. Ellenbecker sisters right at the top, both
nice
podium finishes. A win for Abby Ellenbecker finishing in 1st, just under 19 minutes. Olivia finished 3rd. Izzy Haberman got top 10, finishing 9th in 22 minutes, 50 seconds. Maddie Karen in 18th place. Eichstad in 20th. And Gilliard right behind her in 21st. Now, they have a skate race coming up on Wednesday, or a classic race rather, coming up on Wednesday, and then next week is another skate race, and it should be very interesting because the weather's supposed to stay warm.
At least through Thursday.
And we could actually see rain Tuesday into Wednesday because it's going to be that warm.
Well, they say it's supposed to,
and that could really have an effect on. Hopefully, it's still going to be skiable, but it's certainly not going to be ideal conditions.
It's going to be some slush going on there. But nice to see that 2nd and 3rd place finish
Absolutely, and the win for Abby Ellenbecker is fantastic, but definitely hoping for the best to get them out and get those races in on Wednesday, and then next Thursday I think we're supposed to see a little more normalized temperatures.
It's going to get cold again over the weekend.
I'm not sure if we're going to see much snow, but we could definitely.
It's going to turn to ice. Is what it's going to turn to.
Definitely use that, but yeah. Think it could get messy this week. Alpine ski team, well, things over there looking pretty good. They make their own snow and make tons of it. And things going along pretty decently. Boys in race 2 finished in 6th place. So middle of the pack. Sides was the top finisher in 16th. Reed Smith finished 21st. Kai Tweedy in 33rd. Delfrati was 49th, Phillips 56th, and Nico Tweedy finished in 58th. On the girls' side, 8th place finish overall, but Emma Bolin, a great finish, 12th place, got under a minute for her combined time for her 2 runs, 56.69 seconds her finish. Ayerskov in 58th, Eckert in 59th, Robidoux in 61st, Hetty Bio in 66th, and Verbeek finished in 69th. Their third race is on Thursday, so again, they make a bunch of snow and the temperatures are supposed to drop back down, so that should be beautiful for them on Thursday. Race 4 is next Thursday. Basketball teams, boys basketball played host for a tournament, and what do you do when you host a basketball tournament? You bring in a couple of teams that you feel you can do pretty well against. Look at the score they put up against the Simley Spartans. Same score that they found themselves on the wrong end of against Champlin Park this time. They're the winners of an 84-48 game. Look at the numbers. Marshall Holland, 17 points, 5 boards. Marcel Winston, 16.7 boards. Shai Sayers, 14 points, 4 boards. Farley finished with 11 points, 4 boards, and Sean Smith kicked in 6 points, dished out 5 assists as well. And then on Saturday, just go ahead and beat Minneapolis South again by a pretty dominant number, 89-58, a 31-point win. Marshall Holland, 22 points, and Elijah McGrath adds 21. Shai Sayers, 13. Braden Farley, 11, and Hussein had 8. Against Elk River, the Cardinals keep it rolling. 65-54 over the Elks. Marshall Holland, a double-double, 14 points and 13 boards. Marcel Winston led the way with 18.7 boards. Shai Sayers and Elijah McGrath also into double digits in scoring. The Cardinals have a couple of games coming up. We're running out of time, so we got to start moving. They're at Anoka on Tuesday in Howie.
We'll be there.
And they're at Spring Lake Park on Thursday. Girls basketball team traveled to Alexandria for a holiday tournament. You know what they did? They just went ahead and won that one, too. They beat the host Cardinals 49-45 and then beat up the Bison from Buffalo 50-35. Unfortunately, they could not keep things rolling when they faced the Elks this past week. Ellie Carver, 21-point effort.
You like to see that.
Unfortunately, the Cardinals come up short, losing 61-54. Brooklyn Dixon, a nice game with 12 points. And Hetward, the freshman we saw a couple weeks ago, gets double digits as well. But a loss for the Cardinals. They have a couple of home games this week. They're hoping that will help them out. They host Anoka on Tuesday. Then they host the Spring Lake Park Panthers on Thursday. And Howie?
We'll be there.
So
well, basketball
that
this
will
week.
Do it. And we are back at it for the year of 2018 here on Sportsnight. As far as coverage, we've got boys basketball at Anoka on Tuesday, girls basketball at home against Spring Lake Park on Thursday. And then we will see the hockey team perhaps on Saturday, but more likely not, because I won't be there. You can't be there. I don't know. Maybe they'll get somebody else.
They'll find somebody.
They'll find somebody who can
Joe
actually
Buxton
do this job. That'll work. But that's going to do it for this edition of Sports Night. I want to thank everybody out there for joining us. Continue to support everything we do here at CTN for the entire crew, including Howie Shapiro. I'm Joe Young saying good night.